educational trainings on the AUMA Act, which you should all have copies. If you don't raise your hand, we'll make sure you get one. This is the summary. The real, if you want to take the shell and pass it back, maybe behind you. And we have some more out front. If you want to run up and grab one, that's great. Let me go. Gary, would you bring some more copies of the Act in so we have those? Thank you. I want to make sure everybody can follow along and take notes. First of all, my name is Terrence Allen, and along with Matt Kuhn, I'm one of the founders of the California Cannabis Voice, which is an educational group dedicated to talking about whatever policy is moving forward in Sacramento and in this particular world that we call San Francisco. So while I also have the hat of chairing the San Francisco Cannabis Legalization Task Force, this training is not affiliated with the task force, other than task force members have been welcome to come so that they can gain information about AUMA for our discussions at the task force. Our task force meetings, for everyone who may be new to that idea, our task force meetings are dedicated to bringing San Francisco into the world of adult use legalization of cannabis with forward-thinking policies that have been talked about and debated before we get a new law in Sacramento. So we've been meeting for 4 or 5 months. We will continue to meet through the end of the year, and we will produce a report to the Board of Supervisors about our recommendations for how San Francisco should implement adult use cannabis. And I pause there because San Francisco should implement adult use cannabis sort of in the San Francisco way.
Yes.
And so we need to get that together and organized and be ready to be able to talk about it. So the task force meets every month on the second Wednesday of the month. The meetings are open, subject to the Brown Act. Anyone can come, be part of the agenda. There's public comment. It goes from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 4 o'clock on the second Wednesday. And the address is 25 Van Ness. Grab a business card out front if you want to talk to me, and I will be more than happy to get you on the email list so that you know about what's going on, get copies of the agenda, and etc. So, any questions about the task force before I start to put that over in the closet, so to speak?
No, there's just a weird bass thing happening with the mic.
There's a bass hum going on in the audience.
Bass hum going on in the audience. What do you want to have? Maybe it's one of these ones?
There it is. You got it.
Thank you.
How's that? So maybe then I turn here a little bit? Not too much. You don't want that. I know that. Okay. Are we good?
Thank you.
So any last comments or questions about the task force before we, as I say, put back in the closet and move on to the subject today? Great. So again, my name is Terrence Allen. I am here today as co-founder of the California Cannabis Voice Educational Foundation. We are dedicated to putting on educational summits like this and moving the agenda around cannabis legalization forward. I'm very pleased that the co-founder of the Cannabis Voice Educational Foundation, I think we just have one word. Matt Kuhn is here and will be our main presenter, and Kendra Miller will be here talking about your answers to your questions. So let me tell you a little bit about them. Matt is a civil rights attorney with 40 years of working in civil rights. Now that's a different kind of law than 40 years doing something else. When you start in civil rights, you start from the ground up, knowing that organizing people in a meeting like this is how real policy that speaks to real people gets made. Thank you. Matt began, I don't know how many of you are as old as me. Okay. So Matt began with Tony Serra and Randy Dark in 1996, back when Prop 215 was idea and beginning to take its form around the kitchen table at Dennis Burns' house, and eventually became the first medical cannabis law to be enacted in the country. And so San Francisco led the way very early and then took a back seat for the last 30 years, 20 years, pardon me. And now it's time for us to jump in the front seat. He was the first president of the California Cooperatives and founder of that organization in the 1980s. So the Association of California Cooperatives, very instrumental in how medical cannabis dispensaries as cooperatives move forward. So it's good to have someone that knows what he's talking about there. In the past 10 years, he's worked on patients' rights issues, suing cities like LA, Sonoma County, the city of Vallejo, who are denying reasonable access to patients. When the U.S. Department of Justice came to California in 2011, and I think most of you are old enough to remember that, they sent a bunch of landlords letters, and everyone went into a bit of an apoplectic shock. Are they really going to come and take my property if I let this cannabis dispensary continue in my building? Well, he and 6 other attorneys organized and sued in the state of California. And the outcome?
We lost.
They lost. But you know what? You would not know that. Because our industry and our community has continued to push forward despite minor setbacks. You know, you can't put a genie back in the bottle until you pass the third wish. And we are a long way from that third wish. Along with being a litigator, he's helped in multiple lobbying instances, and as I said, I'm very proud to say he's the co-founder of this PAC and educational foundation that puts this presentation on to you today. Before I move on from that, there are some other things. We are in an amazing space. And for those of you who have been here before, you've heard this, but for those of you who haven't, this is a donation. This is a community room at a real business. A business that has to pay employees and make money and go out for funding and all those kinds of things. And in San Francisco, for a business to dedicate this much space to community building is a pretty amazing thing. And so I want to recognize Brian, because he was sitting in front of me, and the founder, David Huo, who I don't see, who's a new dad, and say thank you very much for your generosity in allowing us to. A little later in the program, I'll thank some of the people in the room who are hiding behind their generosity, because many people, when it came to suggested donation, reached deep in their pockets and helped make this possible by putting up some hard-earned greenbacks, or tuppence, I guess we now call them. Putting up some hard-earned tuppence, so we appreciate that. Now, on to Kendra Miller. Boy, where do we start? I don't know. Kendra is the best dressed in the room. She is the most stylish here of all of us, and together with that class comes an enormous amount of experience and knowledge in the cannabis world. She works at the Pier 5 over on Broadway, big cannabis consortium of experts in the legal profession. She's got her Bachelor of Arts degree at UC San Diego. I won't give away the year.
1990.
Oh,
94.
I was going to say 1990. You said 94 to me. This is not Tinder, bro.
I don't even know.
Yeah, right. I heard that in the days. So, Kendra graduated from Lincoln School of Law in Silicon Valley in 2002, passed the bar, worked as a volunteer attorney for AmeriCorps, another great organization that actually gets stuff done in the community and helps by imbuing the people that work at AmeriCorps this ground-up mentality in the organizing community here, all practice very strongly. She opened a law firm specializing in entertainment. Ding goes to the community. That's a big button for me. And Jocelyn and Duncan, our entertainment rep on the task force. Entertainment is very important. And entertainment and cannabis, if you've ever gone to a concert, already go hand in hand. And so having someone who knows about entertainment like to turn this over to Matt Cuban, who will walk us through what the heck this AUMA thing is. Thanks, Terrence.
Thanks, Terrence. Nice to see some of my known new faces, especially sharing the stage with Kendra, who's got kindred spirit. I want to start by being very direct and transparent about the AUMA because I know that not everyone in our community, and when I say our community, the cannabis community, is very happy with this bill. And I don't mean to soft pedal disagreements about it or make light of the disagreements because I think they're real and I think they're important. Unfortunately, that's not what we're going to do today. We're not going to debate this bill today. We're going to try to understand it because the reality is that more likely than not, 55 to 60% of Californians are going to vote in favor of it in November. And I believe coincidentally today, they announced that they have the signatures for it. So before I even start, I'd like to lay out a couple of ground rules for today that I'd like to see a show of hands that everyone would agree on it. We all agree that we will not interrupt anyone who's speaking today. And everyone, I see a show of hands. Everyone. What we're going to do is Tinder and I are both going to avoid an advocacy role up here. We're going to be lawyers. We're going to try to explain this law. We're going to try to give everyone as much detailed information. And when we see issues in this statute that you may point out or that we've seen already, we're going to try to explain them. We're going to try to explain where we see those contradictions, and there may be lawsuits that challenge this law. Okay? I'm going to take all that off the table because our job is to explain. It's really what I want to do. It's what I do best. It's what I was trained to do. It's what Kendra was trained to do. So if everyone can keep their advocacy about different initiatives outside, that'd be great. Get breaks if people want to debate it. That's great. If people want to talk about it offline here, that's great. But this is an opportunity for us to dig in, and with 63 pages, that's very, very detailed language, which, Heather Burke is here, friend, Brendan, Helen is here. We've all been reading and studying this thing, and we're still scratching our heads a little bit, okay? There's some funny things in there that make it challenging. What I'm going to do is run through a presentation prepared by the Drug Policy Alliance, which has been promoting and supporting the adult use of marijuana act. It's actually the tax control and regulate the adult use of marijuana act for those of you who are sticklers for actual real details. And you can see on the screen, this particular presentation was put together by Armando Gordino down in Southern California. We're doing a lot of work in Southern California to try to get our elected officials and our voters, because we can't win any initiative without the majority of the voters in Southern California. It just doesn't work out on the map. So then Armando put this together, and the Drug Policy Alliance has been using this, so thank you to the Drug Policy Alliance for giving me this to use for today, and that we're using it. So I want to start out with an overview, and then just so you know the format here, Kendra and I will give the overview of this, and then Kendra is going to take the bulk of the questions, and to the extent that I can help with questions, I will, but that's her job, and that's why she's so well paid for this. And I do want to just start with a short story that to talk generally about what legalization would do if we voted for it in California, whether it's this initiative or maybe someone else can get their initiative without that. I have a relative, close relative in my family, who is brilliant, college student, straight A's, brilliant, motivated, fantastic. He was out with his friends in a county back east, and they got pulled over, and this person who I love dearly decided to take the fall for all the other guys in the car and told the cop that the marijuana in the bag was his. Well, that led to an unbelievable journey that the attorneys in the room, and some of you individually may understand, for going through a criminal proceeding for possessing a small amount of cannabis. I'm going to go through the story and then we can take questions later, if that's okay. And he went through the legal system, still going through his, made a lot of attorney's fees, a lot of hassles, and he was applying for a program overseas to work, and he was accepted. And he got a call recently because he's still in this sort of probation. Once he finishes his probation, it will be expunged. But basically, he was thrown out of the program because they found his marijuana arrest and these legal proceedings. This is in another state, and the reality of legalizing in California is that this is going to accelerate and trigger the changes that are going to have to take place across the country. And people don't realize how many people are being spending time, money, and energy having to go through legal proceedings for small amounts of cannabis. We're not even talking about some of the things that the attorneys here deal with, massive cultivation, distribution, chemical manufacturing, and all of that. So I want to just add a note that there really is something much larger going on here than what people may see at face value. What we do in California has a massive impact across the country. So let's talk a little bit about the overview of what people are calling the AUMA, Adult Use of Marijuana Act. There we go. The Adult Use of Marijuana Act has a number of components to it. One of them is sentencing reform. Now, currently in California, it is a crime to possess any amount of cannabis unless you are exempt from prosecution as a medical cannabis patient. The adult use would allow anyone, regardless of whether they're a medical cannabis patient or not, to possess marijuana. Of course, one of the controversies about this initiative is that the amount of marijuana that you can legally possess is up to 1 ounce, up to 8 grams of concentrates, and then you can grow 6 plants. And for many people, including myself included, I believe that's a very small amount, for sure. Again, not to get into this, I didn't draft this, but this is what the drafters came up with, and this is what they basically believe they could get passed, particularly the Southern California voters. The bill, the initiative would allow sentencing, retroactive sentencing reform and record destruction for minors. The regulatory agencies, as you can see, that are going to be handling this bill, DCA, Department of Consumer Affairs, which is currently where the medical marijuana law that was passed by the medical cannabis, and actually they're going to change it from the Medical Marijuana Regulation Safety Act to the Medical Cannabis Regulation Safety Act. That's going to be changed. The MMRSA is going to be changed to the MCRSA under some pending legislation. Department of Public Health will be involved in California Department of Food and Agriculture. And basically, when they did the initiative, they took the MMRSA, which Governor Brown signed in October of 2015, and then incorporated a lot of the provisions, the licensing types, and so forth. And there will be a new regulatory agency that will replace the Bureau of Medical Marijuana Regulation, which will also be renamed Bureau of Medical Cannabis Regulation. And then it's going to be the Bureau of Medical Marijuana Control under the adult use. I'm going to refer a little bit back and forth to the MMRSA, which was for the medical use in California. There are going to be 19 types of licenses, and like we saw in Colorado and other states, if you were able to get a medical cannabis license for your state, like in Colorado and then in California, you'll get thanks. Oh, sorry. It's like I can't shoot and walk at the same time here. Thanks. You can all be following along. we do have this package. So if anyone doesn't have this presentation, we have some on the front chair up there. They can be passed around. There is a micro business license for farmers and small businesses, and it does, and Kendra and I will get into this more in the Q&A, I know it's going to come up, but if you did have a prior drug priors, you're not automatically kept out from the license type. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to get in because they're going to look a little deeper at it. It's like with a bar. You know, if you're applying to be a lawyer, you're into law school, and you had some kind of a prior criminal record, they put you through a little bit of the ringer, and that's what California is going to do. If you have a prior, they're going to go through a little bit more deeply into your conviction and see what it's about. The taxes are going to be fairly substantial. Colorado, for example, has a 31% tax for adult use. Here, there's going to be a 15% retail sales tax. There's, excuse me?
Plus local tax.
Yeah, plus the board of legalization. This is a state. This is basically an excise tax. Is what it's called. And then counties typically tax from anywhere from 7.5. I think we're 9.1% or something in San Francisco County. There's going to be a tax on dry flowers, dry leaves, recognizing that the leaves are being used now for extraction. They used to be thrown away. And medical cannabis patients will be exempt from the sales tax. And this, again, does seem to follow what we've seen in other states. What's different about this, and I've worked in the regulatory environments in Illinois, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, dealt with other states. Colorado, had an office there for years, was very involved in their regulation and legal environment. Because we had a cannabis industry in place, the AUMA and the MMRSA do have a sort of California flavor to them in recognizing that there already was an established industry here. And you see that in the regulatory or in this legal environment, in the initiative. Now, revenue. You know, this is of course the $1 million or the $1 billion question. You know, how much are we going to see here from the revenue for the state, and of course, not even counting all the jobs that are going to be created throughout the state. Potentially $1 billion, 100 million saved annually. There's going to be research, and there's going to be a lot of money put back into communities, youth treatment, environmental remediation. Particularly see this up in places like Humboldt, Trinity County, Mendocino County. We've seen some real environmental disasters that, you know, I have one DA up in northern counties just can't get it out of her head about massive diesel spill that she had to slog through with boots on. Really made an impact on law enforcement, and unfortunately, you know, a few incidents like that can really turn public opinion against the cannabis industry. And so they're recognizing that there is going to be some remediation. And finally, the overview is, and this is something that, frankly, I fought against both in the MMRSA and helped defeat a really bad bill before the MMRSA, couldn't defeat it in the MMRSA because of the League of Cities. And unfortunately, all local cities and counties, 482 cities and 58 counties, have the right to include a ban any commercial cannabis activity, but like dry counties in the South and alcohol, they won't be able to ban the use, the personal use. So, you know, I used to live in Mississippi. I was a labor organizer, and I lived in Jefferson Davis County, and that was a dry county. And if I wanted to get a six-pack of beer, I had to drive 30 miles. But I could bring it back over into my home and drink it there. And that's essentially what you're looking at. Local control was hard fought for. The first draft of this initiative that was filed said that bans could only take place if the citizens of the city or county voted in a majority way to ban it. We wanted to have this power in the city, and the citizens, unfortunately, we lost that.
How could you lose?
excuse me, I think, yeah, we're gonna try to go through this. I'm asking everyone, just give me a few minutes here. I'll try not to drum on. We'll get right to the interactive part of the day, which I think will be more interesting than just me drumming on. Now, the Drug Policy Alliance, this is their presentation. And they like the AUMA because they believe it advances criminal justice and social justice reform, protects youth, protects our farmers and workers, the environment, natural resources, protects patients, and home growth. Now, some people, again, and it was interesting, Kendra and I both were of a case called People versus Kelly, when the legislature in 2003 tried to put a limit on how much cannabis a patient could have. The MMRSA has limits on how much patients can have, and the Adult Use Act also has limits on how much can be grown and how much can be possessed. As to patients, I think it's still an open question about whether that can be challenged. Some of the lawyers that I've talked to over the last few months since that was passed, everyone has sort of different opinions about that. But so far, I think there's a legal challenge already been filed on the MRSA. Is that right? I think someone challenged that. So now, the social and criminal justice reform issues, you are going to see reduction in penalties. There will be graduated sanctions. You can enter and get a license, even if you had a prior drug conviction. Again, we'll talk more about that. It's discretionary. There will be a deeper digging into a licensed applicant who has a prior felony. And in my client group, I'm sure everyone, the lawyers here, our client groups do have folks who have prior drug felonies. We're going to use this act to keep kids from carrying a criminal record into adulthood, and we're looking at reinvesting into communities most impacted by the war on drugs. There's going to be $10 million a year, up to going each year allocated with $50 million at its maximum every year into community reinvestment. Minors will be charged with infractions. There will be prohibitions on cannabis marketing and advertising in your schools. For consumers, there will be labels, so you'll know what you get, as opposed to right now when you say to somebody, hey, what's in that? I don't know, man, but it's really good. I think it's going to be a little different. You're going to see THC levels labeled. You're going to see CBD levels labeled. And finally, it's going to protect the parental rights of patients. Small farmers will get there will be a 5-year ban on large grows that was put in at the last minute for cultivators. And really, Tim Lake, who runs Animal Cup, and some folks up in northern cultivating counties were able to get a lot of input into this. It was a lot of work getting into the inner circle here with the folks who were drafting this, and we did get our folks in there to talk about a number of issues. Tim was really great about lobbying, and we did finally open them up about that. It's Tim Blake with the ML Cup. Again, if you have a prior drug conviction, you won't be automatically banned or kept out. The labor and health violations will be watched carefully. There'll be anti-monopoly restrictions, and the law will encourage labor unions in the workplaces, Patients will continue to keep their rights under Proposition 215. Home grow is still going to be allowed, although I know I personally am not a grower of anything, so I like the